All right, you know that being the first speaker after lunch is always death, right? So you have to help me out. To get us going, I thought it might be fun to see a little bit and start with a video.
What's your management style?
Passionate. Passionate.
Passion.
And what's your biggest weakness?
Being stubborn.
Stubborn, I think.
Okay, give me one reason why I should hire you.
Because sports is my passion.
I'm really passionate about football.
Really like a football.
When you are looking for a job for an interview,
teeth are brushed.
If you look good, you feel good.
Hi. Hello. How are you?
Eens van mij.
Okay, Reens. Okay. And so you liked it when we were walking hand in hand?
It made me feel comfortable, yes.
Oh, interesting. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for your time, I suppose.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Mr. Ross, have a very nice weekend.
Thank you.
Sir, are you sure?
I'm fine. I'll get a little water in a second.
Okay, you say no?
Stay away, please.
If we're talking about money, how much money do you think you would like to have for the position? Last time this happened was at a disco.
The disco day?
Fire and passion or cold and calculated?
I would say cold and calculated because...
Wrong answer.
Fire and passion. Other people get infected by my enthusiasm.
You think I'm getting infected right now?
We need to go. Come, Simon, Mr. Ross,
Okay.
please.
Come on, we need to get going.
Missing a hand here. Can you help us, please? Sir, can you help us, please?
There's a fire or something.
We have a gap here. Sir. This one. Hold your weight back. Okay, he's okay. Okay.
Now that's how we identify talent at Heineken. Not really. This video was originally shown to me when I was interviewing for the job that I'm in right now. One of our HR leadership team members showed me this video, and he said to me, he said, Brenda, you know, no matter what we come up with here in global HR, there's always something that keeps us on our toes. This is one example. Global HR found out about this process after it was already posted on YouTube. It has, if you look it up, if you Google the candidate, you'll see that it has over 3 million views, so it's quite incredible. Besides what's happening in our organization to keep us sharp, there's obviously a lot that's happening in the world around us that also keeps us sharp. So similar to what you go through every day with the state of the economy, with the aging workforce, with the fact that here in Europe we have more people actually exiting the workforce than we do joining of course. The fact that we are, like I know some of your companies are as well, expanding into emerging markets. We see some great potential, some possibilities in emerging markets. We have increased scrutiny from a regulatory perspective. You can imagine being in the beer business, not only excise taxes and things like that, but also from a social perspective, we're under scrutiny. Not everybody is not everyone is a fan of alcohol consumption, etc. We're not always associated with a healthy lifestyle. So all of those things are impacting the environment in which we are working. So we have a strong consumer brand. We can bring a lot of people into the organization who apply for jobs with us, but finding the right ones is really our challenge. I want to talk about some of our statements of intent, and I want to focus here on the talent management section. Before I joined in 2012, a 3-year plan was put in place, and one of the strategic intents, or the strategic intent that I focus most of my time on is here. World-class talents will contribute in key positions. Today, what I'm going to share with you is how we look at the world-class talent part of this. The key positions I'll leave for another time. World-class. Let me start with that. Heineken is the most international beer brewer in the world. We have breweries in over 70 countries. We distribute beer in over 170 countries. We focus on, especially at the leadership level in the organization, to find the best of the best and the best of the best globally mobile talent, which brings a whole other dimension. Okay? So let's talk about the best of the best. We have an international graduate program at Heineken. It is key to some of this globally mobile talent need that we have. This year, we had over 18,000 applications for the IGP from over 125 countries. It was a little crazy. So as you can imagine, and I'm sure some of you do the same thing with your graduate programs, we go through a series of screening, right? So we do numerical verbal tests, we do inductive reasoning tests, we do personality tests like we've touched on a couple of times already this morning, to try to screen that 18,000 down to a manageable number. We even started this year doing video interviews on top of the phone interviews and on top of the face-to-face interviews. And last night, I actually met the first group of 10 people who are actually in an assessment center, probably sweating right now, going through a bunch of role plays, group examples, individual exercise, to take that group of 18,000 applicants down to 14 international graduates who will start with us this year. So that gives you an example. So we don't have a problem, again, attracting the people to apply with us, but we have a challenge trying to select the right people to join us. A colleague of mine, and Ryan, I'm going to say hi to you. Can you wave? Ryan is a colleague of ours. We actually worked together through the last part of last year and into this year to do some things to enhance what we're doing around talent management. One of the things we worked together to do, we agreed with the HR leadership team earlier on a global standard for recruiting. If you look at Heineken's history, we've grown through a lot of different acquisitions, so we have a lot of different talent processes that are out there all over the board. And so what we were able to do together is to have the HR leadership team agree to this recruiting standard that will help us with further recruitment. So we're very disciplined when it comes to the international graduate program beginning in 2008, but we haven't been disciplined and standard across our companies. So that's emerging. We're going to do some capability building around that later this year. Okay, potential criteria. How many of you have performance as part of the way you find talents in your organization? Okay, great. And how many of you struggle with the difference or with line managers understanding the difference between performance and potential? Yeah, I thought so. Us too. So we look at sustained performance when we are looking inside our company to define who is a talent. So that's the first thing. We don't look at performance just in an individual year because there can be mitigating factors, things associated with why on the short term some people are performing well versus not. But the thing that's even more important are the three components of our potential criteria. They are learning agility, leadership, and ambition. Let me leave the first to the last and start with leadership. A few years ago, we defined 6 leadership competencies and started to implement them across, and some of our newest acquisitions were just starting to plan for the implementation of our leadership competencies. So that's an important part of the definition of what it means to be successful. What does it look like to be a successful leader at Heineken? So that's very important. The last component on ambition is pretty similar to, well, let me just ask, how many of you have some type of motivation or ambition component to potential? Okay, so that's pretty standard as well. We don't want to focus or identify someone as a talent if they themselves don't have the desire to grow into a leadership position. The newest part, which was implemented or announced at the end of 2012, was the learning agility. Learning agility is Lominger's definition of learning agility for fellow HR geeks who know the 5 dimensions that learning agility is based on. That is our key. Some of you guys who have worked with Lominger and learning agility before know that, I use the quote all the time, people who are high in learning agility know what to do when they don't know what to do. And our worlds are changing consistently, right? So we want to make sure that people have the skill sets in their backpacks that they can access when they need to access them to figure out the world and figure out how to make value in that world. So learning agility is a critical piece. Right after I joined, about 6 weeks after I joined Heineken, I went to do a presentation at the HR leadership team on different assessments that we could use to help us tell whether someone was more learning agile or not. And I went in all set up with the options, how much it was going to cost, how we would implement it, and I got shot a little bit. And they said, Brenda, listen, we don't need to spend a lot of money on assessments. We just need to embed what we communicated last year. So give me some simple tools that we can take out to the organization that then we can use and really build the capability of both our HR teams and our line managers, their ability at spotting potential. So what do some of the behaviors look like? What are some of the evidence, regarding people agility, results agility, change agility? So that was my challenge after a painful first HR leadership team meeting. There's another woman who's here at the conference. I've got 5 minutes. Okay. There's another woman who's here at the conference who helped to create the toolkit components that you see here. We worked together. We asked for help because I was new with the organization. She had been here a few years. But we asked people in our regions and in some of our opcos to help us with what would make the most difference. What would be most beneficial if we were able to deliver, to do exactly what I had described before? So we created a learning agility webinar, and we did it with some of our learning and development. We performed it with some of our learning and development counterparts in the OPCOs, some of our HR directors, and we used this in each of our 5 regions. But every region was different. Some regions, some OPCOs who we acquired at certain points in time had more or less experience with learning agility. So not all of these tools were as equally applicable or as beneficial to every operating company. But through the course of creating a series of webinars, calibration guidelines and tips, case studies, development guides, guiding questions to help facilitate potential calibration discussions. We had some things that would work. Everyone has an annual, I'm just going to cut this down. Everyone has an annual cycle for talent management in your organization. Ours starts with November through the beginning part of each year with OPCO talent management calibration sessions, okay? And we have both geographic regions and also global functions. So we're a matrixed organizations like a lot of you, right? So we start with OPCO by OPCO, bottom up. Then the OPCO presents to region. Management reviews occur where each OPCO comes in to the regional president and they say, okay, this is how we are situated for talent or not, and here's where our priorities and actions are for the upcoming year, and then the president can give feedback. In June, what's going on right now, we had our first one yesterday, is the regional management reviews. And the regional management reviews, we look at potential general managers, potential future general managers. And then through that, this is also the time where the Chief Human Resource Officer, we have a new one, by the way, who just started in May. So this is fantastic onboarding for him to get an overview of the talent situation in each of the regions. Then every September, the regions and the functions come together and we do a little bit of a handoff. So the regions say, hey, these are the successors we think we have, but for senior managers, governances, these functional resource committees, own the succession planning and the development for the senior managers. So they do a handoff. That's the world of Heineken. What I would like to do in Heineken, regardless of whether you're classified as a talent or not, I don't know if some of you were in the session earlier where we talked about whether talents were told they were talents or not, and others were told. We have a mixed approach at it. Some talents know they're talents, some talents don't. But what we do, if I can say that, what we do is we have a set of tools that every employee, regardless of whether they're a talent or not, can access. And I wanted to, before I summarize and open up for questions, I wanted to show you a promotional video that we used for this website. We do it right. What am I doing wrong, Simon? There were three things that I found invaluable over the last 10 months. The first is asking for help. Because I was new to the organization. I didn't grow up in the beer industry. I had wonderfully a good boss and some colleagues who were really helpful in putting the plans together about learning agility. So if I can share anything with you, don't be afraid to ask for help. It might sound simple, but really valuable. The second is the devil's in the details. co-create it with people from your operating companies, from your business. Find those people who are willing to sponsor and to work with you. They don't always have time, but asking for help in itself is very valuable. And the last thing that I would recommend, some of us as HR people are not always known as technological experts. We use some new web-based technology, interactive technology, to do some of the training, and people loved it. It allowed us to get more effective training out into places that we couldn't reach as easily before. So those are the three things that, if anything, from me today you take away. Those are the three things I think are important. Thank you.
My name is Renata. I'm Career Development Manager. You mentioned that one of the potential criteria is leadership, and you define 6 leadership competencies. So my question is how you define it, and what are the 6 of the leadership competencies?
Sure. I'll do my best, Ryan, and then you can... let me just say, Ryan, I know I introduced you earlier and you waved, but he's in charge of learning and organizational development, and it was his team that put together the leadership competencies. So as an example, drives to win is a leadership competency. Focuses externally is another one. Develops people and teams, if you go on, is another one. And those leadership competencies are then broken down in behaviors that then, so there's a general definition for all of them, and then there are individual, team, and leadership, levels 1, 2, and 3, behavioral examples of each of the competencies. Is that what you mean, the structure? Okay.
Hi, Brenda. Thanks for reminding us, first of all, that I really liked that you spoke about clustering a set of very simple and straightforward tools and guidelines and packaging them together. I really like that. And I wanted to ask you, what is the one thing that you're currently not doing that you would like to do to take talent management at Heineken to the next level? So I assume you have an aspiration of where you want to take this.
Yeah, thanks.
So I wanted to probe that a little bit.
Yeah, thank you very much. One of the questions that I asked while I was being interviewed for this position was, how do you set priorities at the beginning of each year or on a multi-year perspective? And the answer I received was a little scattered. So what I would really love us to do is to work together at an integrated talent management strategy with shared priorities from both a business and an HR perspective. Now, we know some of the direction that the business is going, and we know some of our pain points in different areas of the business. Some are functionally oriented, some are geographic in nature, emerging market, developing market related. But we haven't done a holistic job at bringing it together and socializing it and getting people behind one set of priorities. So that is my dream.
Thank you for sharing.
Thanks.
Okay, and on the note of the dream, I think that's going to be the moment to move on. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.